Hi, I'm Jonathan Aaron Soul, co-creator of Heaven in My Body. I wanted to address in this video the issue of self-trust. I saw a post, a very moving post on the Facebook group earlier today from a woman who was talking about not being able to trust anybody. Having been betrayed so many times over and over again, how do you trust your instincts? And I've seen this remark many times in different places by different people, including questions that I've received over email. We all kind of wonder which part of ourselves to start trusting, and it's a very, very difficult place to be in. This place of continuously wanting and longing for real community, real relationship, real heartfelt connection to people, and feeling like everything that we follow betrays us and rejects us, doesn't accept us for who we are. It takes a huge amount of courage to pursue that desire for connection again and again and again, determined to find it, knowing, because you know that deep inside of you it does exist and it is real. It takes a huge amount of courage to continue to face the difficulties of finding that genuine community, that genuine ability to connect. So for all of us who are struggling with that, I just want to say, never ever give up. Now, I'm going to talk in this video about self-trust as opposed to trusting others. And I want to tell you a bit of a personal tale around that. My wife and I, Ariana, my partner in life and my partner in this work that we do together, we've gone through many challenging times in our marriage, in our relationship, just like most marriages do. And when we would have really open, heartfelt conversations about it, oftentimes during those difficult times we would say to each other, "So why are you still here?" And that's a very difficult question to ask your partner when you're going through a difficult time, but it's a really important one. And it always came back to, for both of us, I'm here because I trust myself, and me, my inner voice, my true essence is telling me to pursue this path with you and rise up out of whatever ashes have to happen continuously to create us in a better way. When my inner voice tells me it's time to move on, then it will be time to move on for both of us. For us, for me and Ariana, the inner voice continued to say, work this out, rise up, learn, rise above, transform. But it came from within us. We didn't choose to trust each other. We were trusting our inner voice to stay in this place. And when that inner voice, or should that inner voice someday say, okay, it's time to move away from each other, then it'll be time to move away from each other. And I want to point out how oftentimes we might enter into a situation following our inner voice, but we stay in that situation out of stubbornness and the remembrance of the inner voice that guided us to be there. And this is a subtlety, but it's a really important place to notice yourself, because you might follow a path and then have a really hard time saying, okay, I followed it to a certain place, and now I have to say no to it now that I followed it a little bit and got into there. And you need to go somewhere else from there, or take a right turn where you thought you were going to go straight originally. That's a really important place of distinction, because the place of trusting your inner voice, trusting yourself, And in a minute I'm going to discuss what trusting yourself is, because there's so much confusion around that, I believe. But this place of trusting yourself has to be a moment-to-moment thing, because your inner voice can guide you down a road, but you don't know what twists and turns that road is going to have down the way. And you need to be constantly vigilant around following that inner voice moment to moment, and not get stuck in an idea of what you thought you were going to be doing. The other place of self-trust is in self-trust. So this is self-trust. It's a place where when you're yourself, you're in trust. There is no differentiation. You can't trust yourself. There's no one being inside of me trusting another being inside of me. When you're really following something that's not just your thoughts or your conditioning, then you are one with trust and self. There is no difference. You can't be two beings when it comes to trust. There's only the one being within you, where when you are that being, when you are allowing it to overflow from within you, you are in trust. You are self-trust. There is no differentiation between self and trust. And when you follow your thoughts, when you're in your conditioning and you're following instincts that are based on past learning or fears, that's when your instinct is not an instinct that's coming from your inner voice, from your self-trust. It's an instinct that's coming from a fear-based conditioning. And how do you tell them apart? Well, I always tell people, come back to your body. Because if your body's tense, if your breath is shallow, you're most likely in a place in your mind that's a maze that's constantly rearranging itself, and you can't escape. So when you're operating from your thoughts and your conditioning, you can't escape using thought. You can't think yourself out of this kind of conditioned situation. All you can do is relax into yourself, open your body, and allow self-trust, self-trust, or self-trust, one word, to arise from within you as an open body. Now again, this is a very difficult situation to be in when you've been hurt so much that you don't trust anybody, and you don't trust yourself because you don't know which voice within yourself to listen to. And the wisdom that you gain following your self-trust is beyond reproach. Whereas the wisdom that you gain from following your conditioning or your fears or your habitual behaviors is repetitive. It's not new. It's a constant loop. It's a loop. It's constant looping. So in your heart of hearts, when you're in this situation, you're most likely going to need to say no to something. When you're in the position where you're constantly following another person's voice because you don't trust your own, you're going to lead yourself down a road that ultimately ends in rejection, because essentially you're giving away your power. You're allowing yourself to be led, for whatever reason, by other people, and people don't really want to lead you. People want belonging, and you can't have belonging when somebody is giving away their power to you. So you want belonging, other people want belonging, But if you give away your voice, you can't have that. And ultimately, that's the big betrayal, is that by not following your inner voice, you're surrendering your ability to belong. Because even if nobody's actively rejecting you because you're pretending to be somebody else, you still don't feel like you belong because you're not being you. So even if you're accepted somehow, you're not accepted for you. There's only one way to experience belonging, and that's by living in self-trust. And the best way to do that is to connect with your body, relax into it, and slowly let it rise from within you. Now what's going to happen is it's that voice, that energy is going to rise up, but it's going to push everything that's on the that's above it out. It's going to explode you like a volcano. And that's a very scary situation to be in, because you could encounter the fear of losing control. You encounter the fear of rejection, of course, because you're going to need to start saying yes and no in a very different way than you have been until then. And that no is going to have massive amounts of rage behind it because of all the times you didn't say no. And that's scary, because you don't want to end up chopping people's heads off with your no. So it's going to be a learning process to learn how to moderate how you say no, but you can't experience yourself without trusting yourself. You can't trust yourself and not be yourself. And that's the most important lesson. So whatever it is, take a deep breath, receive yourself into yourself. Something new will happen. It's a mystery. Everybody has specific circumstances that they're going to have to deal with. Whether you're facing a husband, a boss, a friend, a person in your life, or simply people in your past that have oppressed you. Moving forward in trust of yourself is really all you can do if you ever hope to really live a genuine life. To belong genuinely. To live genuinely and hopefully. You can't be pleasing anybody in your life. You can't follow the fear of rejection and let it lead you. You absolutely have to learn that discernment of your yes and your no in order to finally experience real open-hearted community. And when you do that, things will change in your life. But they will change for the better. Even if some people go away, the right people will come to you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. I realized that it wasn't as coherent possibly as some of my previous work. It's a very difficult topic, but if you have any clarifying questions, I would love to know what they are. I appreciate you very much. Thank you again.